Today marks our 3rd wedding anniversary. But this year, my husband Ken isn't by my side. That's because he's been on a solo work assignment for the past 6 months. Thinking, if he's too busy to come back, I'll surprise him by visiting, I dressed up and headed to where he was stationed. But what I saw was my husband entering an apartment with a woman I didn't recognize. I couldn't believe it. Was he really the kind of person who could cheat in such a situation? Well, I'll go ahead with my own plans too then. That's how I began plotting my revenge against my husband. My name is Leah Charles, 29 years old. I'm a housewife, managing our home life while working at a company. Ken and I have been married for over 2 years now. Counting the time we dated, we've been together for about 5 years. I met him through a mutual acquaintance during my first year as a working professional. A college friend of mine worked at his company, and I happened to bump into them at a pub. I was alone, and they were having a get-together with his coworkers. My friend noticed me and invited me to join their group. That's how Ken and I exchanged contact information and started messaging each other. At that time, I was overwhelmed with work and couldn't even think about dating anyone. But he felt the same, and whenever we had free time, we'd meet up at a pub to vent our frustrations. Hey, listen, Ken. Today, my boss yelled at me over something so unfair.
I totally get it. You know, getting blamed even though you didn't do anything?
Exactly. It's so annoying when they expect you to know things you've never been told about.
Right? Well, let's just drink it off for today.
Sure. I'm off work tomorrow, so let's bar hop tonight. We had a relationship like best friends or siblings. His presence gradually became a significant part of my life. 2 years after we met, while we were drinking at our usual pub and sobering up on a park bench, he suddenly said,
I think I'm in love with you, Leah.
I was taken aback by his unexpected confession. Even though it was winter, I felt incredibly warm. He felt the same. His face, lit by the moonlight, was red, and it wasn't just because of the alcohol. He continued,
Leah, will you go out with me?
What? Me, really?
Yeah, I want to be with you. We can talk about anything like best friends and care for each other. I think only we can build that kind of relationship.
Oh, Ken. And that's how our relationship began. It felt more like best friends than lovers, but I was still very happy. And now, just in 6 months, we were about to celebrate our 3rd wedding anniversary. The past 2 anniversaries, we reserved a restaurant for dinner and had cake when we got home. This year, I wanted to do the same, or maybe try something different. Even though the anniversary was still 6 months away, I couldn't stop thinking about it. One day, I got home early and was preparing dinner while waiting for Ken. About an hour later, he came home. I was frying something and couldn't leave the kitchen, so I just called out, "Welcome back," from there. But there was no response from him. I definitely heard the door open, and he usually calls out,
I'm home,
first. Wondering, I turned off the stove and went to the entrance. There, I saw Ken with a troubled look on his face. What's wrong, honey? Are you feeling sick?
No, it's not that.
Then what's up? You seem really down.
Actually, I was told something at work today.
I thought maybe something went wrong at his job and asked lightly, "What did they tell you?" Ken, looking somber, quietly said,
I've been assigned to work alone in Houston starting next month.
What?
A coworker who was supposed to go had to quit because of family issues, so they're sending me instead.
No way. A solo assignment? Why so sudden? And Houston is way too far.
I'm really sorry, Leah. It's for a promotion and I couldn't say no.
That's tough. He said it was hard to refuse on the spot, especially since the assignment was only for 6 months. I understood that a promotion was important, but is it normal to decide on a solo assignment without even discussing it with your spouse? I tried talking to him about it several times, but the outcome was always the same. I had my own job, so I couldn't just follow him to Houston. Reluctantly, I accepted the idea of living apart for 6 months.
When I get back, let's celebrate our anniversary.
With that promise, his solo assignment began. 2 months later, I was initially lonely, but gradually got used to living without him. We made it a daily routine to call each other every night and share our day's events. That day, as usual, I called him at 9 p.m. But for some reason, he didn't answer. He usually picks up after a few rings. Worried that something might have happened, I texted him, but there was no reply. Anxiously, I kept calling. Finally, on the 6th try, he answered.
Hey, Leah, what's up?
What do you mean, what's up? I was worried about you.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just working late.
I thought your company didn't have much overtime?
Oh, well, I've gotten used to things, so I've been staying late voluntarily. I don't want my performance to drop, even if it's just for 6 months.
Wow, you're working hard.
So, I'm sorry, but I might not be able to call as often from now on. I just want to go straight to bed after work.
I was taken aback by his sudden change. Was I the only one feeling lonely? Even though I knew he was busy, I opened up about my feelings. Sorry, Ken. I know you're busy, but I'd like to talk, even if it's just for a bit each day.
I don't think I can promise you that.
Please, I'll be patient when you really can't.
Alright. I'm beat today, so I'm gonna hang up now. Bye.
Oh, wait, Ken, Before I could finish, the call was abruptly cut off. The disconnected tone echoed emptily in my ear. What's gotten into him all of a sudden? Work must be tough, but we promised to call each other every day before he left, even if just for a while. His attitude seemed so uninterested. Is talking to me really that much of a burden? His indifferent responses made me wonder if I was at fault. Loneliness only deepens when you can't see or even talk to each other. Time flew by, and it had been 5 months since Ken went to Houston. Our wedding anniversary was fast approaching. However, our relationship had deteriorated to the point where we could hardly be considered a couple. We barely talked on the phone, let alone exchanged messages. Even when I replied immediately, his responses took days. I just want to hear your voice over the phone, even if it's just for a little while. Despite my requests, he insisted he was too busy. The atmosphere wasn't right to bring up our anniversary. Our conversations remained superficial. A few days before our anniversary, I casually messaged him. Can't you come home this weekend? If he remembered our anniversary, he would surely come home. Though we could have celebrated after his assignment ended, I desperately wanted to see him. Then he actually called me, filling me with anticipation because it had been a while since he made a call. Hello, Ken? It's about the message I sent earlier.
Sorry, but I can't.
What?
I keep telling you I'm seriously swamped with work. So I won't be coming back.
That's not...
So yeah, bye.
He ended the call abruptly. Our first conversation in a long while lasted only a few seconds. He seemed rushed over the phone, presumably swamped with work. Disheartened that he couldn't come home, I suddenly had an idea. Oh, I know. I can go to him. As a surprise. If he's too busy to come back, I could go visit him. Why didn't I think of this simple solution before? Once I made up my mind, I quickly planned to surprise him by visiting this weekend. On the day of our anniversary, I was on a plane to Houston, where Ken was stationed. It was a Saturday, and he was probably at work. I knew his apartment address, so I decided to wait at a nearby cafe until he came home. I chose not to contact him since it was meant to be a surprise. I watched the apartment from the cafe window and wondering what we would talk about and how surprised he would be. As I looked outside, I saw someone who looked like Ken. Just as I was about to leave the cafe, an unbelievable scene unfolded before me. No way. A young woman quickly approached Ken, who was waiting outside his apartment. He smiled warmly at her, kissed her, and they entered the room arm in arm, laughing. The Ken I knew was gone. My longing to see him shattered in an instant. I couldn't believe it. He lied about being busy with work to cheat? How much more could he disrespect me? I would never forgive them. I'd make sure they regretted their actions. My love for my husband had evaporated, leaving only a desire for revenge. I immediately flew back and visited a reputable law firm, then hired a private investigator to look into his affairs. Within a week, they had gathered ample evidence of his infidelity. Perhaps his guard was down during his assignment. With this evidence, I went to the lawyer to start preparing for divorce, simultaneously packing my belongings for a move. Despite the tight timeline, I finished moving out 2 days before his assignment ended. The condo we lived in was mine from before we married, so I terminated the lease as I moved out. The day Ken returned from his assignment arrived. After dinner, expecting his call, he didn't disappoint. Taking a deep breath, I answered the phone and he immediately exclaimed,
"Leah, what the hell is going on?"
"What do you mean?"
"Don't play dumb. Why is everything gone? There's hardly any furniture left."
"Well, yeah. I moved everything to my new place."
"Your new place?"
He was bewildered, repeatedly asking,
"What's going on?"
I took the time to explain everything to him carefully. I moved out. I just don't feel like being your wife anymore.
"What? Where did this come from? I just got back from my assignment."
Your assignment, huh? I bet cheating behind my back was fun. As soon as I mentioned cheating, he started squirming, trying to bluff his way out, but he retorted defiantly.
"What do you mean cheating? I would never do that."
"But you did cheat."
"I'm telling you, I didn't." "Are you still holding a grudge because I couldn't contact you because of work?" "I was genuinely busy, working even on weekends."
You're really good at lying. I saw it.
"Saw what?"
You, entering the apartment with a young girl.
"What?"
He probably didn't fully grasp what I was saying.
That's impossible. I wouldn't cheat."
He mumbled to himself. That's when I sent him all the photos of his cheating that I had taken with my phone. Look, I just sent them. Can you still say you weren't cheating?
"What is this?"
After I found out about your affair, I hired a detective. I never thought a week of investigation would gather so much evidence. You really let your guard down during your assignment.
"No, it's not like that."
Confronted with the evidence, he clearly panicked, insisting it wasn't cheating but just a junior colleague. Of course, that was a blatant lie. The photos taken by the detective showed them kissing on the street and walking arm in arm intimately. There was no escaping it. The more he tries to excuse himself, the more credible the evidence becomes. He doesn't realize he's digging his own grave.
"I was just looking after a junior. She's like a sister to me. Leah, you're the only one I love."
Hearing such pathetic excuses, I was beyond anger and just disgusted. This conversation is pointless. It's clear you cheated.
"But that's not it. She's just a junior colleague."
So you kiss and walk arm in arm with a junior colleague? Wow, that's sick.
"It's a misunderstanding. Let's meet and talk. You'll understand then."
That's when my anger peaked. Shut up.
What? What did you just say?
I said, shut up, you jerk. My shout left him speechless. I yelled with enough venom to make sure my resentment was felt. Cut the crap, you prick. You think those excuses will work? Who would believe a lying cheater like you? I don't believe a word you say anymore. I'm done with you.
Wait, Leah, let's at least talk.
There's nothing to talk about anymore. Just so you know, you and that woman will be paying a hefty compensation. Not just that, I'll tell both your parents and your company. Your lives are over, so get ready. I hung up without waiting for a reply, deleted his contact, and completely cut off communication. Later, I divorced him and went through lawyers to demand lump sum compensation from both. Ken paid with almost all his savings, and the mistress had to borrow money to pay her share. Their relationship quickly deteriorated and ended. More accurately, she dumped him. After the divorce, I informed both families and his company, leading to their dismissal since she was a junior colleague from the same company. Losing his savings, his relationship, and his job, he sought help from his parents, but they disowned him after learning about his infidelity. It was a pitiful situation, but he deserved no sympathy. Meanwhile, I moved and started anew, enjoying my work and hobbies. Being alone no longer felt lonely. I've decided to spend my time happily for myself.